Okay, so I had to restart this video because the camera app on my computer wouldn't work. I don't know why, um, but I'm restarting it because of that, and I'm recording this through Zoom. So let's hope this comes out as good as it looks right now. It looks good right now. I'm gonna believe. But the point I was making before, I want to make this video because I want to make videos like these because it's been something that I have thought about doing for a long time now. And I've told myself over and over again, hey, you're going to know when you need to make it. You're going to know what that's going to look like. You're going to know what the whole process is going to be. And, I've told myself this for quite a while now. And I just, I, I can't keep believing that I'm just going to know when as a substitute for just making the video. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm making the video. And I'm making this video uh, about my thoughts from last year and trying to compare it to how I think now. And I decided to do that by using one of my journals. I'm a big journaler. This baby, I've filled it up quite a bit. A lot of my thoughts are in here. A lot of personal thoughts are in here, so I won't go too crazy with what I read. But I will read one page that I had started to read in the video that I couldn't record because the camera app wasn't working. So that's just a part of life though. So let me go ahead and go to where I was. So I read something from October 4th of 2023. And so this reads as follows: I must kill the past, lay the child down, transform. I must go for I must go far and achieve much. I must endure the trials of the unseen, the sacred war, the power of transformation. Trial and error draws near. So when I think of this, I remember that early October was a few days, maybe a week, like a 7 day week after I had just ended a situationship. Um, well, mutual split, but the situationship had just ended, and I was in a bad spot, and I was trying to make sense of where I was. I was angry, and I was all these emotions, and I was mad at myself, and I was, going through all the things that people go through when they are, in an emotional state. And I wrote this, and what stands out to me first is the first line: I must kill the past. And that's not a mindset that you want to be in. You don't want to view the past as something that you have to fight because in a sense it's you and you don't want to fight yourself. That's a losing battle and it's just not right. But I must kill the past, lay the child down. Lay the child down. When I think back on this wasn't a call to maturity for me. This was a brute force attempt to overcome my emotions. And I wasn't in the headspace and I hadn't learned the lessons that I have now back in October to where your emotions aren't something that you're supposed to fight, that everything that you feel is valid and normal. Um, you might think that, well, that's obvious, but you'd be surprised. A lot of times trauma can be overwhelming and it can make us feel a lot more than we want. Uh, when we're overwhelmed by things, we can try to control things, right? We can go, fuck, I don't want to. So I'm trying not to curse here. We can go, dang, I don't really want to I don't feel like I want to work. I got these bills coming up. My girl just left me. I don't want to feel all these emotions at the same time. And I feel like that's valid. Like nobody wants to feel things that they believe could be overwhelming. However, emotions are not something that we can just say no to. That's not a valve we can shut off. We have to accept them. We have to feel them. however they feel. And we have to understand that that feeling is temporary and that it will pass, and that it always passes, and that when it passes, we'll feel more, and that we never stop feeling. But this wasn't what I thought it was when I wrote it. This wasn't a, philosophical like stand against, like irrationality. This was me trying to brute force my emotions to go down a path that they didn't want to go to. Uh, I must go forward. I must go far. My own handwriting, y'all. I must go far and achieve much. I must go far and achieve much. That is something that I've also been thinking about recently because I have big dreams and I have aspirations and I have things that I want to do and I push myself to achieve them. A lot of times at a punishing pace, and it's been difficult for me to put my dreams and everything that I've accomplished into perspective. And I know that that's taken a toll on my self image, and my self image is what I've been working on visualizing because myself is something that I will never lose. I will never be without myself. It's my warmth, it's my peace of God, you could say. And I view my dreams as an extension of parts of myself that I haven't yet realized. But saying I must go far and achieve much, knowing myself, right? Knowing who I am, I know that that wasn't just like an innocent, you can do it. This was like this is like, I need to do this. Like, I have to do this because if I don't, I will amount to nothing. And if I amount to nothing, I will have nothing. And it was an anxious, it was an anxiety derived sentence. And I forgive myself for all of this, what I wrote here. First, because, I'm a person and I interpret the world as best as I can and I move through it as best as I can. And it's second, because I know the headspace I was in right here. And I was in a tough emotional headspace. Uh, that situationship had ended pretty poorly. And I was reeling. It had ended, I think, the 26th of September. But that was a lot for me. And I'm getting a lot of perspectives as I look back at this because I'm getting put back into my headspace from then, and I've changed a lot since October. I must endure the trials of the unseen, the sacred war. This whole thing of endurance and enduring trials of the unseen, this goes back to the first sentence I wrote, which is I must kill the past. And I want to stress this because this is something that I wish I'd realized just last year, is that life and the trials and tribulations, these things boil down to perspective and they boil down to the natural ebb and flow of life and the things that we can't understand because we're human beings. We are naturally short sighted. Even the most forward thinking of us are short sighted. And we can't help but be short sighted because of our humanity, because of the limits of technology and the limits that we have because of humanity. And this speech of I must endure the trials, it's a very militaristic approach. Um, you can probably hear my family in the background, but yeah, I must endure the trials of the unseen. To me, that speaks of my almost a need to control things that even I can't control. And to control the unseen means endurance to me. It means withstanding things that I can't prep for, like how the weather next Wednesday will affect me after a long shift. That's the unseen for me. That's the endurance that I was speaking to, which is, in my opinion, cool. Like, I'm glad that I could think to that extent. However, it's not it's not like practical. It's not a practical thing, you know, like it's not like it doesn't help me to be thinking about something as I don't want to say minuscule, but as like intangible as that. And that speaks to a lot of that anxious need to control, and that stems for me from a lot of trauma, uh, things I've been unpacking recently. Um, and these are things that we have to be cautious about. I'll go into things that we can do to avoid a lot of the pitfalls, a lot of avoid a lot of avoid a lot of the I'll avoid a lot of the avoidable pitfalls. Man, English is hard, but the last sentence here is the power of transformation, trial and error draws near. This is heavy for me to look at because I know where I was, and I can't stress that enough. This was a tough time for me. I'm talking about the power of transformation, and I'll probably make a video on that because I truly believe in the power to transform self. Um, Not anything like mystical, but I mean like just when you let go of a lot of things you can't control, when you let go of pain from the past, things fall into perspective when you let go. Things fall into place. They fall into where they're supposed to be in your life. And that transforms you. It's like you're holding on to too many things because you're afraid that if you drop them, that you'll lose them. But you don't lose them when you let them go or drop them. They just fall into the place that they're supposed to be. Our experiences build ourselves. So we are a culmination of our experiences. And building ourselves is a transformative process. It's a process of trial and error. So when I said trial and error draws near, I spoke of it's interesting as I think back about this now. I may have been talking about what I've been going through the past few months, which is very interesting to think about, you know, how wisdom works and how, you know, intuition works. I could have been speaking about the journey that I've been on since, you know, late November. Um, because a lot changed for me the last quarter of 2023 between September and December. A whole lot changed in my life, personally, relationships, financially. And so that's interesting for me to look at. But I wrote this in two colors of ink. And whenever I do that, that's because I'm trying to separate two thoughts, but present them on one page. And I'm trying to show that they're connected. I must endure the trials of the unseen is where I start in red, and I end the blue, and I must go far and achieve much. And I have transformed in both red and blue. It's very interesting to me. And I'll speak about how we as people, we have all these little tricks to make sense of the world that we're in. And I mean tricks like harmless stuff, like habits, you know, superstitions to make sense of the world and to, you know, to make sense of what we're trying to do. And this isn't like a superstition, but this is something that I do when I try to differentiate what I'm saying. And one thing I can say truthfully is that both of these thoughts, the red and the blue, talking about killing the past and enduring the trials of the unseen, both of these stem from that same place of trauma. Both of these stem from a place of hurt. And that's what I've been working on. Is that I think one thing that we all need to remember as people is that it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to feel pain. It's normal to feel pain. It's normal to feel hurt. And it's normal to feel hurt about really anything. You don't need a reason to feel hurt. But whatever your reason for that pain is valid by default because it's your pain. It's yours, it's your emotions, it's your experience, and you are valid as a human being. You're undescribable. And that seems perfect. And we can't come from places of trauma all the time. We don't want to come from places of trauma all the time. We want to come from places of fullness and wellness. We want to come from places of health and wealth. I mean, inner wealth. We want to. It's like when you're around people that give you bad energy. A lot of times, it's not just them. Sometimes it can be you. It's how you. What energy are you in? Because that energy will reflect what they're in, right? So a person could be in bad energy, but if you're in really good energy, your energy will still reflect a decently positive energy person. One could call that delusional, truthfully. However, if that energy that you're within is truly stable, truly coming from a wellspring of fortitude and good vibes, then that line between delusion and reality is essentially unimportant at that point. But a lot of times your intuition is straightforward. It's, hey, this person is, I don't like how they moving. It's like that. And all of these things that I'm saying, everything that I'm saying, talking about transformation, differentiation between thoughts, talking about coming from places of wellness, fullness, and less times coming from places of trauma. This is all because I, as a person, have moved through life very analytically. Like I've moved through life thinking that everything needs to be categorized mentally, that all my experiences need to mean something that I can go back to like a database, almost trying to turn myself into a machine to make sense of the world. Uh, in therapy, they probably call this like intellectualizing emotions. And so I've definitely done that. And doing that it hasn't served me in a while, is what I mean. And right now I'm focused on finding out what serves, finding out what I need to let go, what I need to take into the future, find out what I need to find that will serve me. Because intellectualizing my emotions like this and categorizing everything through analysis is not serving me. I've been a person who talks about how important it is to just be able to say that you had fun, to not have to quantify the fun, to not have to assure yourself that you had fun, to just be able to say, hey, I had fun, or hey, I enjoy this, or hey, that was nice, and leave it at that. And that truly mean what you said in your heart, and you truly feel that. To me, when life can simple down to me, when life can boil down to simplicity, is when you are at your best. When life is the most simple to you, you are at your best. When your mind has to do less analysis of your person and do less, calculations of who you are, then that's when you're at your best. Uh, is when you feel the most natural. Because to me, that's the most organic state that you can be in. Is a state of calm and simplicity. And simplicity in this case doesn't mean that you don't have complex thoughts, that you don't have complex emotions, underlying your persona. It means that those emotions, those complex emotions, those complex thoughts, all of that is comfortable and accepted and has been interpreted and has been taken care of to the point where it can remain underlying, to the point where it can remain a vibe. That's how you generate a good vibe, is through emotional care, so that your emotions are taken care of, so that they can become vibes. So I'm telling you, when you externalize your emotional state, and you are bringing a bad vibe, but you're just kind of being a bad person at that point. Like you're not being your best self because you're externalizing things that are supposed to be internalized. And internalization, I feel like, has a bad connotation. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, where people tell you not to internalize pain or hurt. And to me, as a man, I think a lot of us can scratch our heads at that. Like, what do you mean don't internalize pain? Like, that's what we do as men. That's what we blah, 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 which is half fine to me and half problematic. The problematic part is what a lot of people touch on, which is that we as men can hold on to things. We can sit with things without, working through them. But to me, the good part is that internalization is an act of self-labor. But y'all, what is going on with the words today? Internalization is an act of self-love. It is a self-labor of love. It's an act of, okay, the emotions I'm feeling are very strong. and I'm not yet able to articulate what I'm feeling. So I'm going to sit with them for a little bit and I'm going to channel them into the things that I like. So it's like an internalization first, where you sit with it, you understand the depth of what you're feeling. And then you're like, okay, I can channel this into my writing. I can channel this into, you know, my car. I can channel this into my relationships or whatever. And that's how you externalize your internalized process. But the process is there. The process is, I'm working through this. It's internal. And you're showing someone your internal process by going to be like, hey, I'm feeling these emotions because I lost my partner, and the way they did was really rough, and I'm feeling a lot of things and I can't identify all of them as easily as I would like. And the work to identify with my emotions is taking a physical toll on me, and I just want to talk to you about the things I feel. That's externalizing the internal process. And I think about what a lot of people say when they talk about don't internalize your anger. What they mean is don't lash out. They mean if you're feeling all of these emotions, if you're feeling all of this pain, this anger at the world, I was mad at myself when this relationship ended because I blamed myself for something that was neither my fault nor hers. And I wanted to externalize that. I didn't even want to, maybe, but I wanted to just like lash out at the world. I wanted to hit things. I wanted to yell at people who didn't do anything to me. I wanted to take out my frustration. And that's what a lot of people talk about, where they say men do that, where we lash out because we're not externalizing our internalized process. We're just externalizing. We're just externalizing. We're not refining the emotion within and presenting that refinement process. We are just taking the raw and throwing it at everybody. And it's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to refine. And that's a process. Refinement is a process, and it's one that's good to share. I think that's one thing that I am working on, which is sharing my internalized, refined process. And I just hope that that is something that I can continue to do. I just hope that that is something that I continue to grow in, and I continue to learn how to do that more effectively. Uh, I've been writing for a long time, and I had this idea for a while to make videos roughly around some of the writings that I've done to hit on points that maybe I couldn't think of when I wrote them. And I think this will help me learn and learn about myself more and grow within myself, grow myself. And I think I will be able to reach out to other people and affect them. Uh, my words, which are just an extension of myself here, I'll be able to reach out to people. And I hope that someone will take away something from this that it will. What I really hope is that if you can't relate to anything of this directly, it'll get the gears turning in your head. You'll start to think about things that you need to address, not out of the lens of criticality or self-adoration, but out of, hey, that's something that is holding me back from being the person I want to be. Hey, that's what he said there. It reminded me of this moment where I didn't act in the way that I wanted to, and that I said that I would change, but I haven't changed. That was 5 years ago. Blah, blah, blah. You see what I mean? Like, I want to be able to spark those little changes that, zigzag through yourself, and like a pinball machine. They hit you right where you needed it, and they take you over to the edge, and they show you everything that you can be. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm gonna make another video, uh, maybe today or tomorrow. I won't do it today. Might do it tomorrow. But it'll at least be within the next 2 days. Uh, Today is July 4th. It's Independence Day. And I was feeling pretty low today, and I'm glad I was able to get up. And I appreciate the fact that I was able to do this thing that I didn't think I was gonna be able to do. But yeah, I just wanted to share these with you, and there's more to come. There's a lot more to come, so appreciate y'all.